Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final day of the Razor King of the Beta tournament, where we have QXC versus IntoTheRainbow and Idra against the Little One. Just a little bit of history of what's going to be going on and what the stakes are tonight. QXC, if he wins this match, he will come out first in Group A, and IntoTheRainbow will be second, for both of them will be advancing as 2-1. But if IntoTheRainbow wins, it will either be a three-way tie if QXC can manage to steal a game from him, or if IntoTheRainbow 2-0's QXC, then we will have White Ra and IntoTheRainbow advancing into the Final Four. Now, in Idra vs. Little One's group, much more cut and dry. Tester is already advancing. He is 3-0 in the group. Huck, despite an amazing series and being able to take a game off every single one of his opponents, is out in 0-3. So Idra and the Little One are tied 1-1. Whoever wins that game will be advancing to the Final Four. Once again, I'd like to give a big shout out to Razer for sponsoring this tournament. They have a new line of mouse, keyboard, and headset that integrates with Starcraft 2, and I had the chance to play with it at E3, and the feel of it is divine. The mouse hand just cups it perfectly and has a really nice weight. Definitely getting one myself. For more information, go to www.razorzone.com. And of course, if any of you are interested in the Final Four broadcast of this tournament, it will be cast live from my StarCraft 2 countdown party held at Harvey Mudd College in Los Angeles, California. For more information, you can go to www.hmc.edu. And for some reason, you do not live nearby California, you can always watch the stream at www.day9.tv. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump directly into Game 1 of QXC vs. IntoTheRainbow. Going to be having a little bit of Terran vs. Terran action right out the gate. Now, QXC, always known for his very aggressive, micro-oriented style. IntoTheRainbow has, I guess I would call it a little bit more modern, a little bit more new school style of Terran vs. Terran, where players have been favoring a few more Marauders in the early game instead of going for the straight-up Marine Tank Viking that we see is so typical in this matchup. QXC now spawning in the north position as the purple Terran, and at the left we have IntoTheRainbow as the blue Terran. IntoTheRainbow currently undefeated in his group, showing a lot of real crazy aggression at these starting stages of the game, doing weird sorts of factory floats with barracks pushes at the front gate, and QXC having phenomenal micro and relentless aggression against Demaga, and tried to do the same attempt against White Ra, but the Void Rays gave him a little bit too much trouble with the transition. So it's going to be an interesting clash of the Korean style versus the American aggression. QXC looks like he's doing everything, typically building that supply depot, not at his ramp. A little bit dangerous to wall in this matchup sometimes. You can get your front busted by tanks and lose those depots. And we do see, looks like IntoTheRainbow going to be building that depot at the bottom right corner of his base, so that way he can do a little bit more spotting for any sort of Vikings or drops coming in. But that would be a vulnerability if QXC did elect to go for Banshees in the later stages of the game. QXC continuing to make SCVs, no gas out yet, as we saw Little One do against Tester yesterday in some of the best games I've ever seen in the StarCraft 2 beta. We did see a gas before barracks to get that factory up a touch faster, but both players instead going for the very ordinary barracks on 12, and there of course is the refinery on 13. Both players scouting right now. Will any of them pop by that Xel'Naga watchtower? Looks like they're just going to waltz directly by each other, going to be doing a little high five on the way to scout. SCVs aren't meant to fight, they're just meant to mine, and of course exchange greetings with other scouting SCVs. Looks like he has made it into the Rainbow's base, knows exactly what's going on, which is, of course, the exact same thing that QXC is doing in his main. QXC just going for the very ordinary strategy. Both players going to be getting that orbital command immediately. Now, what's most typical in this matchup is to go for the very fast factory as you're constantly making Marines, start building tanks, and then start building Vikings. The whole ideology behind tanks and Vikings is that tanks can shoot farther than they can see, so the Vikings give you the extra vision range that you need to maximize the effectiveness of those tanks. Because if I am always able to see farther than your tanks, then I can always defeat your siege tanks. So a lot of times you see these goofy 3-4 tank plus 50 Viking battles because no one wants to lose control of the air. QXC does manage to snipe out that one SCV. QXC's SCV is pulled back to the Xel'Naga watchtower, and this is going to hurt IntoTheRainbow quite a bit because he has absolutely no vision of the center of the map, whereas QXC can easily see everything that's coming out of this front. So QXC could do a little bit more aggression, as we've said many times before, loves any build where he can start attacking ASAP. More Marines, factory going down as well for QXC. Factory a little bit earlier for IntoTheRainbow, but not big enough to make a gigantic difference. And here's another typically timed refinery for IntoTheRainbow, but weirdly enough, QXC hasn't taken his gas. You really need that gas if you want to be able to have an extraordinarily effective tank Viking composition. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult. Looks like IntoTheRainbow is the first player who's going to be doing a little bit of aggression, moving out towards the center of the map, but QXC has good reaction time and is going to be able to pull away from that Xel'Naga watchtower. Again, this watchtower, one of the most important positions on this map, given these two spots for these players. Looks like, ooh, there's that new school style we're seeing from IntoTheRainbow. He's getting the Marauder and a Hellion out right now. This could be a very potent push. We already see that he has rallied to these Marines, but QXC looks sneaking around with the SCV, getting a good sense of what's up. Uh-oh. Sees no add-on on that tech lab, knows that there's going to be something coming, and it looks like IntoTheRainbow built some structure and canceled it immediately. Didn't get the chance to check it, but QXC, clearly looks like IntoTheRainbow didn't want QXC to see that, but here comes the first big push from IntoTheRainbow, and meanwhile, back in QXC's main, looks like, oh, an armory! He's going for a Thor push immediately. He has the Marines and the Hellions to do a counter push of his own. It looks like he's going to be doing the Thor follow-up. QXC just bolting out to the center of the map on his own. Those are very clustered Marines. Oops, loses the Hellion for almost nothing. Needs to be very careful with his control, but manages to take out the Hellion, and now the Marauder's the only unit left. QXC doing great micro. Look at that stop fire micro. IntoTheRainbow's first push was killed almost without any resistance. QXC did lose some of his initial pushing force, but he still does have control of that Xel'Naga watchtower. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a Thor rush coming up right now. QXC has finally taken his double gas just in time to get that Thor out. Flawless timing. And meanwhile, IntoTheRainbow starting to transition into that Viking tank build. He will almost certainly be swapping this factory and this barracks to get those tanks out in time. One Hellion advancing forward. IntoTheRainbow remembers that there were those two Marines out at the early stages of the game, and it looks like one Hellion also there to roast just that one SCV that pokes in there. So very nice play by IntoTheRainbow, just continuing to control the center of the map despite that early loss. And there's the big scan. He sees that there's the factory down, but did IntoTheRainbow see that there was an armory going to the IntoTheRainbow camp? No, that scan did not see that armory, so it looks like IntoTheRainbow, wow, looks like he's getting a reactor on this factory. He's probably going to be... no, it looks like he's canceling that, realizing that he is very low on time, needs to start that tank production right away. And look at the resources. You can see how high IntoTheRainbow is on his money. Was clearly thrown off by that weird counter push by QXC. Here's QXC pushing out with some Marines and a Thor. It's going to be a little bit hard to pull that off. But here comes a bunch of SCVs. He's just going to go for the mass repair rush on the Thor, try to bust in there and keep that one Thor alive. And it looks like IntoTheRainbow has almost nothing here to defend. The tank is only about halfway finished, and only one Viking landed right now to defend. And the Thor does a serious, sick damage output, and here it comes, the Thor managing to one-shot all of those SCVs. QXC just needs vision of this high ground. IntoTheRainbow taking all his SCVs off mining, needs to prevent anything from seeing up to this high ground so this one Viking can do as much damage as possible. There's the tank. That is the one thing that IntoTheRainbow can possibly use to stay alive, but look at QXC continuing to push with SCVs, and this one Thor, it just cannot be killed fast enough. Look at that, 9 kills on the Thor already, and it's going to be 10 right as it takes down that Viking. Target firing these SCVs as they are repairing, and now it looks like IntoTheRainbow forgetting to repair and not shooting with the tank either, and the bunker is going to fall. QXC pushing in here so aggressively with this Thor. One Marine comes to help out in the fray, and all the repair, it does go down, and a second Thor coming up. Good game! QXC wins with an extremely aggressive push. Jeez, that was unbelievable, the number of SCVs that QXC was able to pull off mining in that early stage of the game to take a very fast, very quick win. QXC, despite being stuck in a whole bunch of even food battles that entire time, used his micromanagement to the fullest and was able to pull ahead after that first battle, and the timing on the Thor was just impeccable, completely beat Tester to any sort of anti-mech play, such as getting that tank out. So right now, QXC is currently 1-0. If he can manage to win the second game, he will be first in the group, and IntoTheRainbow will be second. And this also means that there is no way that QXC can possibly be eliminated yet. If IntoTheRainbow wins the next 2 games, there will be a 3-way tiebreak between Demaga, QXC, and White Ra. So we will be going into Game 2 in just a minute.